Hello and welcome to another exclusive interview by Recovery Today Magazine at recoverytodaymagazine.com, where first and foremost, we're a magazine of hope. Whether you're considering addiction recovery for yourself or a loved one, or you're actively in recovery a short while or many years, you'll find information on all topics related to addiction, recovery, and living a happy, successful, sober life at Recovery Today. My name is Gaba. I am the editor of Recovery Today, and I have the distinct pleasure of interviewing another great guest today. Joe Tapper is a New York City-based actor who has worked in television on Broadway in You Can't Take It With You with James Earl Jones, and Off-Broadway at the Public Theater, 59 East 59th Street, and in Shakespeare in the Park at the Della Corte Theater, among others. He is an Illinois native, a loyal St. Louis Cardinal fan, and he is the husband to Annie and the father to Jack. Welcome, Joe.
Hello. It's great to talk to you.
Yeah, I really appreciate you, taking the time with your busy schedule to do this interview and support recovery in this medium, in this multimedia medium. Tell me what, inspired you to do this interview.
Well, what inspired me to do this interview is, I believe in the service. I believe in the service of recovery and just in the idea of, the only way that you can keep it is giving it away. And if we can all share and be open about our stories, and maybe, then that can help other people, and that will help me, and that will help you, and then we can help each other. And I'll be quite honest. I remember when I was just getting sober, back in 2012, I was reading an article in a magazine, and it was a great actor who I really, really admired. And I didn't know this, but I was just reading an interview, and he had mentioned his sobriety and, what it was taking for him to get sober. And this was not in this was like in something else, not this kind of just surprised me. I wasn't seeking it, and it really helped me so yeah, I'm open about speaking about being sober. I have been since almost instantly since I kind of that moment of clarity happened. So I think it was I'm out about it, and yeah, I was just very grateful that you asked me.
Oh, thank you, Joe. Tell us a little bit about your journey, and kind of heard a little slogan in there about, you can't keep what you have to give away what you got, or whatever that 12-step slogan is. So I'm wondering if the 12 steps is what has worked for you, and just a little bit about, what was your moment of clarity?
Well, so I would say, my journey wasn't really, I think it was standard. The walls were closing in. I'd been drinking for a long time, and I would say that's definitely, genetic in a way, that it genetic in both sides of my family, going way back. And not not necessarily saying my mom, my dad, or anything, just deep right. Family, Irish families and things like that. And when I had first gotten to college, and it was this, it was working, it was working for me, and it was fun, and it was great, and it was a lot of fun, and then I I was lucky to do well in college and keep good grades, and grades, whatever grades are, but keep in a in good regard or respect, and then the same thing, like I almost instantly kind of went into grad school, and I got into a good grad school. And I'll be honest with you, like I had a few drinks before like my final interview for my grad school, and I remember thinking how awesome is that I had a couple of drinks before and I still got in. And I'm from like a working class family, and I went to an Ivy League school, which is just beyond like, which was beyond like anything that the realm of possibility. So I remember thinking how awesome that I had a couple, like that I beat the system or something like that. But, when I really look back on it, I misused. I mean, I got a lot out of those 7 years of college and grad school, and I learned a tremendous amount about being a human being and also living, and it was obviously amazing, but also like I misused a lot of that time. I poured a lot of that opportunity down my throat, and I accrued a lot of financial student loan debt at the bar, and as a sober person now, it's almost like, oh, I wish I could go back, as everybody says, youth is wasted on the youth, and I certainly wasted those opportunities. So that was kind of as that was going, and then I got out of school, and I kind of hit into the acting world with kind of some steam. And I just kind of just assumed that the quote magic would just kind of follow me wherever, and I didn't really have to do my part, and I could kind of just keep drinking. And in New York, I'd never lived a life where, because I had gone to school, basically college, and then essentially right into grad school. Like, I'd never lived a life where something wasn't due, where I didn't have an assignment. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So when I got out of grad school and I was in New York, and my only assignments were pay rent, go to work, pay rent so that you can, pay your bills. That was like this freedom. And also New York being a major character in life, and being, for the 4 a.m. bar, the fact that a bar was open until 4, that freedom, that opportunity, that availability was, honestly, it was more than I could handle. And I started to descend very quickly. And I wasn't doing my part as far as the opportunities that I was getting. And I was kind of showing up and not bringing anything to the table. And slowly, quickly, those opportunities went away. And
so you think it affected your career in some way?
Oh, absolutely. I would say within 3 years, I was 3 to 4 years, I'd been dropped by multiple agencies, talent agencies. I had, I was essentially like out of it. I mean, I was maybe lucky to do a play here and there every couple of years. And luckily I have, and I still have to this day, a manager, a talent manager, by the name of Beth Rosner, who has been my manager for a long time. And she's a great woman. And she stuck with me through the tough times, and, and anyways, so, but she stayed with me. And then as I started to realize, as I had mentioned before, the walls were closing in. And I had a great girlfriend at the time who I was living with. And this was in like 2011, early 2012. And I didn't have like a bottom, like one event, like where I crashed my car and almost died, or something really awful. It was just like a series of terrible things, just blackouts and things. But it was in New York, right? So I could walk home. Like I'd never really, just like lots of shame, lots of embarrassing moments, things I'm not proud of.
That's an interesting point, because I'm thinking of like walking home and Uber. So I'm wondering if today more people are, not reaching that proverbial DUI crash.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's keeping people out there longer.
I have thought about that a lot. I lived in LA when my wife was pregnant and had our child. We were out in LA a few years ago, and Uber has changed that, or LA for so much. I mean, you couldn't drink. People had to be very mindful about their drinking and driving then. And now it's just, I'll call an Uber. I think that's a great point you make.
I mean, I never thought of it till this moment when you said you could walk home, because I know, like, I had a client, I'm also a therapist, and
Yeah.
he was a DUI attorney, and his whole business has gone to, it's just not the business it used to be, because
Sure.
people aren't getting DUI. So when he said that, I thought, oh, that's interesting. Now people, are drinking. And then when you just said what you said, I thought, oh, maybe people just aren't crashing and burning as fast, or they don't think they are, because, like you said, it doesn't have to be like a crash. It can be just like the shame and
the shame, the embarrassment.
Yeah.
But also they're not literally crashing and burning. So that's good. People aren't living right. But yeah, it was just like an accumulative shame, just shame. And my girlfriend at the time said, hey, we got to figure this out, or essentially you've got to move out.
Yeah.
It was an ultimatum.
Yeah.
And in kind of that moment, the shame, the walls closed in, the quicksand grabbed hold, and I knew that I had to stop. And I kind of remembered it was, I don't know what it was. It was a moment of clarity. It was a higher power, a universe, God, whatever you want to say it is. I just remember something, a release.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, I'll stop. And luckily from that moment on, I haven't picked up since. And that has been amazing. And through a lot of like insane things, like I don't have, I've been lucky to start really acting a lot now, and getting to, kind of professionally do it, in the last few years. But after I got sober, I still needed to, pay the rent and stuff, but I don't have a lot of like skills. So I was still bartending, and I was still, working in high alcohol areas, but I was able to kind of keep a vigilance and a focus for some, I don't know how, but I did, a lot of lying to people. Hey, let's have a shot. I can't, I got a headshots, or I got an audition, or, whatever it took.
But it sounds like your career just took off after you got sober. I mean,
I'm sorry.
In a few years after, like it's really all come into
things. Just the promises, right? Yeah. The life beyond my dreams. Yeah. Things did change.
Do you think there's a relationship between like the self-esteem, the shyness? I mean, here you are an actor, but at the same time, they talk about the inferiority complex, the superiority complex. Like, I'm wondering if just the idea of getting into that entertainment field, do you think there is a lot of like social anxiety or shyness, and so the alcohol just sort of propelled you to kind of pick that road, but then it just kind of turned on you?
Yeah, and it turned on me. It absolutely turned on me. And what I was using as medication to help me get out of, my anxiety became this horrible crutch, and I couldn't escape it. I couldn't be myself without it. And the fact that, it's in the play that I'm doing now, the character says, how long have I been looking at the ground to avoid people seeing I'm drunk? As he's recovering, he says, how long have I been looking at the ground to avoid people seeing I'm drunk? And I just,
wow, that's pretty profound.
Isn't that so true though? How long have, I remember sitting on the subway, so hungover or so drunk, just trying to avoid people's eyes.
Yeah.
And then, fortunately, I would say in outside of career stuff and really great, wonderful, amazing life stuff, that girlfriend who I had mentioned that gave me that ultimatum, eventually has become my wife and the mother of my child. And
nice.
And that's the great, that's the really great, that's been so.
Yeah. I mean, it always amazes me, those stories. I was married to an alcoholic, and he never took that choice. I tried and tried and tried. And so when I hear people, that are also motivated, obviously for yourself, but for someone that you love, I'm always so happy to hear those stories, because I think that it does exist. It does exist. Sometimes, there is this greater motivation besides for yourself. And that's a beautiful thing. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean,
Yeah.
that's how it all turned out. Do you think that you feel more scrutiny? Like, it sounds like you're really out loud about your sobriety, but do you think it's an issue for a lot of celebrities in the entertainment industry, talking about it, or actually, there's just more scrutiny around it? Like, think of like Lindsay Lohan, how her career sort of,
Yeah.
a lot of yes people around her and so forth.
Yeah. I don't, it's tricky. I think it's tricky because, I think with Lindsay Lohan, she was so young when she got into such a kid act. She was such a child actor, like, and she was always so in the public eye. I can't really speak to her. I mean, I know that I think it's a case by case thing. And, for me, this is me, this is how I'm going to be. And this is it. You can take me or you can leave me, but this is exactly how I have to be, or I can't be,
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
if you're a director and you like to drink with your actors and have a great time, then I may not be the actor for you. That just is how it has to be. But I don't think I haven't really ever found that. I haven't ever found. I was very scared of that when I first got sober. Oh, I will never have a good time before, or I'll miss out on so much. I'll miss out on the nightlife, meeting directors, meeting people, meeting casting agents and directors and things like that. But I haven't missed it. I don't feel like I've missed out on anything. It's like Facebook. I got off Facebook and I was like, oh, well, you're never gonna be a part of the social media. You'll never get any news. I still find out about everything I need to find out about.
Yeah. Well, exactly. Well, it's that insecurity again that shows up. And so when we have that security, we don't need to, we take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
We're not comparing ourselves to others or worrying about what someone else's path is. We sort of stay on our path.
Yeah.
So what would you say to that young person still kind of, dabbling and thinking, like you were kind of the golden boy, it sounds like, and there's someone else out there that everything is, it's funny. I had a client yesterday, same thing. Everything went really great for him until he got divorced. Like his whole path was like, oh, go to college, the only one in his family that went to college like you, and then he got married, got a house, got a job, and now he's just so depressed. He's like midlife depression because everything was so perfect until it wasn't.
Until it wasn't.
Yeah, what about that person out there that thinks, I am, I'm greater than this disease, and I can, or not even, he doesn't even think it's a disease. He's just out there having fun.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what it is, that's exactly what, they want. It wants you to think. It wants you to think, oh, you're greater than it. Great. So happy. They're preying on those thoughts.
Yeah.
I always refer to it as being in the quicksand. I'm in the quicksand. I'm trying to inch by inch claw my way out of it, but I'll never get myself out of it, because if I ever think I'm out of it, then my vigilance will be I'll have lost my vigilance. And that's when my disease, because I do believe it's disease, is doing, is lifting, doing bench presses, doing push-ups, is so excited for me to get weak and wait, and honestly, anybody, like, I don't want to speak to your client specifically, but for the most part, everyone who knows deep down in the back of their mind, they know. And you can think that you can beat it, but it's gonna, the world is out there in a really beautiful way, and it's scary, but if you take the leap, it is such a beautiful life that it is such a new life. Like, one of the first AA meetings I went to, I remember somebody qualifying and said, I drank for 20 years and I've been sober for 30 years. I've had 2 different lives.
Wow.
And it's out there. You're not stuck to this thing.
Yeah.
You're not stuck to it. And if you think that you can beat it, you cannot. It is impossible to control it. That's what it wants you to think, that you can control it.
I always think of it like as there's the dark entities and the light entities. And the dark entities are just waiting, they're just waiting down. And being sober is living in the light, really. That's the truth. So we also reach a lot of parents and partners of people that are struggling, and then we get into that conversation about when are you enabling, when are you supporting, and when are you giving up, and when are you letting them, figure it out themselves. Like what is it that maybe your girlfriend, now wife, did in terms of, I guess she gave you an ultimatum and that worked. So that was her bottom, I suppose.
Yeah. I'm sorry, could you start I just missed the beginning of the question.
I guess the question is, what would you say to the families, the partners and because we get a lot of partners and parents listening to these interviews because they're looking for, what would you say?
Boy, I have to say personally, I am dealing with a situation kind of like that. It is tricky. It is so tricky to have love and know how to deal with it. And I wish
it's a tough one. You're not the only person that gets kind of blocked with this because you're kind of like, you understand what they're in, and yet you don't want to enable them, and you want to love them.
Yeah.
The saying goes, detach with love. I can't think of any better saying is detaching with love, really. But not giving up on them.
That is great. Detach with love if you can. My therapist said to me the other day, she said, you can't change someone else. So that was a great release for me to be like, well, I can't change with someone else, but I can, I guess detach with love and be as present as I would say, be as present as I can be. So that would be, establish boundaries that are going to establish boundaries and armor that will protect yourself.
That's so true, Joe. That's exactly right. Because as soon as your life becomes unmanageable because of your addiction to getting them sober or whatever, getting them help, then you lose your peace and serenity.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
you're absolutely right.
And I have another dear friend who is taking care of someone, and it's really hard because who takes care of the caretaker, right? So if you're in this kind of in the trenches of this situation and you're kind of getting sucked in, then who's taking care of you, right? And then it can be very damaging in both ways.
Yeah, I get it.
But so definitely detach with love and try to establish some armor and boundaries that can protect you.
Keep you safe or you're going to go down. I always say it was the codependency that brought my ex-husband down. He was in the entertainment business and he was a people pleaser and he couldn't say no to certain things. And what happened was he didn't say no and he got overworked and he had an accident that led to painkillers and then, his drug of choice, which was alcohol. And it was all because he couldn't say no. He didn't have boundaries. So boundaries are for everyone, the addict and the family. Everybody's going to stay on their side of the street or it will, it's like not having the oxygen mask on for your, you got to have one on before you give it to your child. Well, this was great, Joe. I'm wondering what you're doing next and how people can find you and.
Oh, sure. Well, I like I said, I'm not on Facebook, but I am on one social media. I'm on Instagram, Joey Taps, which just sounds so silly, but that's mine, JoeyTapps. Right now I'm doing this play called The White Chip, Off-Broadway at 59 East 59. We've had a great time. It's a great story of a man's kind of struggle to stay alive and grapple with sobriety.
Right.
And it's a beautiful, I really have had a beautiful cast, and a beautiful and amazing director and amazing producers and just amazing everything. It's been truly a beyond my wildest dreams. The next thing I'm thinking about, what's next is I'm gonna relieve my wife, who has been taking care of my son, on basically single parenting, and I'm gonna take over for her for a little bit and give her a break. And then I'm gonna do a couple of workshops in New York of a couple of different things, of some new projects that are coming up, and we'll see what happens after that. But
Great.
that's what I have in November.
Well, we will look for you. We will absolutely look for you. And tell me the Instagram feed again.
Joey Taps, Joey, T as in Tom, APPS as in Samantha.
Yeah. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for spending your time with us today. And I know
thank you.
Many, and thank you for being so honest, and good luck.
Absolutely. Yes, it works. It works. It works.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for a great interview on recovery today.
Thank you.